reality is we're leading the country on a state basis and working with the federal government to enforce immigration laws. I called the special session at the beginning of the year prior to President Trump taking office because I knew that we needed to make it clear in law that our state and local law enforcement entities had a responsibility to not just not sabotage, but to actively assist, because that's how you get most of the interactions. And so that was a fight. I mean, the Speaker of the House tried to tank it, and they tried to do an amnesty bill, basically, and we won because the voters were really upset at what they were trying to do. So we got that in law. And so we've been doing this, and I think Tom Homan will always cite Florida as the model for collaboration. The reality, though, is you can go on and you can round up, 25, illegal aliens, some of whom have records, some of whom may have deportation orders, who knows. But ICE has limited ability to hold and process them. They have limited capacity. So we have some in our local jails. The problem is we have normal U.S. citizen criminals that are in the jails. And so one of the things they've said to us is, if you can help us expand the footprint so that we have a place to stage process so that we can effectuate more repatriations of these folks, that would be beneficial. So the facility, there's already a training facility in the Everglades. It's the Collier-Dade Training Airport. We use it for storm response. People do use it for training flights, but what it is it gets all this process out of the hair of the people of Florida. You're not going to have to worry about this. It's remote. This is something that's already built. Now, there's different things that are being added to the airport, but there's no different footprint at all. So it has nothing to do in terms of Everglades impact or restoration. I think people are just trying to say that because they just don't want Florida assisting with the deportations. There's a lot of people that want to have open border. I get that, but that's not the policy of the state. So we're going to do it. We'll probably have another staging facility for processing at Camp Blanding. But the reality is they don't have enough capacity, even close to enough capacity. This is going to be a force multiplier. We are not in, and it's reimbursable by the federal government for costs. We are not in the business like New York City was doing for so many years, putting people up, illegals in hotels and doing all this stuff. The reason why we're having this to be able to be staged is so the feds can process folks and then remove them from our country. And that's the only reason why we're interested in this, because it helps fulfill President Trump's mission. But there'll be zero impact on that. Now, we have been talking about purchasing this it's kind of been in the background. I've been in favor of us doing it. And I think my plan would probably be, if we did eventually purchase it, we would look at potentially just disbanding the facility. But that facility has been there for a long time, and I'm not sure what that would mean. Maybe that would help Everglades. Maybe it won't. I think most of it's actually not even in Dade County. It's in Collier County. So we'll look to see whether that deal gets done. But in the interim, you don't want to do this in ways that are going to impinge on Floridians and taking away space that we need for other things, particularly to hold actual U.S. citizen criminals. You don't want folks escaping in neighborhoods or close by. So there ain't nowhere to escape from. I can tell you that when you're there. I mean, you're in a swamp, and yes, this is a facility that's been built for many years. But it's as secure as it gets. And I think what the feds will do is then they will process and then remove. And so we'll keep that cadence going if it works. What I'm not going to do is just us being to house and feed indefinitely just for the sake of doing that. I have no interest in doing that. I don't think Floridians want us to be doing that. I don't think that's what the federal government's policy is. I don't think that's what they want us to do. I think they want to effectuate the removals, but that's why we're doing it, to help effectuate the removals. And I think it's going to be effective. Now, and then we'll also, Camp Blanding is in northeastern Florida. That's where our National Guard has their main training site. And there's just a lot of room. There's a lot of ability to potentially do that. So we're working on that as a kind of a northern Florida outpost, and then the Collier-Dade Training Airport would be the southern outpost. Both of those, of course, are very secure facilities, and I think would probably serve the mission well.
Any stats on cost, sir?
Well, it's reimbursable by the federal government. I mean, people have said they can get up to $625 million. It's not going to cost that. Reality is this is an important federal mission. It is eligible for reimbursement. At the same time, even if it wasn't, we've put our own resources to bear in Florida to protect Floridians against illegal immigration. For example, I launched Operation Vigilant Sentry for the boats off the Keys and off southern Florida. You'd have boats coming in from Haiti, from Cuba, from the Bahamas illegally, and the Coast Guard's job is to stop. But what happened, and they do a good job, but Biden did not have enough Coast Guard ships. So we supplemented with our vessels, FWC, other agencies, and I think it's probably now been in effect for close to 2 years, a year and a half. But because of our efforts on the state, we've interdicted about 18,000 illegals that were then turned over to the Coast Guard, and the Coast Guard sent them back, mostly to these island countries here. So what would the cost be if those folks all made it to shore? Forget about even the crime, although when you stop these people, you are finding in some of the boats firearms, contraband, all this other stuff. 100% you're finding that in a lot of instances. But put that aside. Just being a public charge, how much does that cost the citizens of Florida? How much does it cost our schools? How much does illegal immigration cost our schools? In terms, because the U.S. Supreme Court has said if someone's illegal, in the U.S., you still have a right to go to public school on taxpayer dime. I think that decision was actually not rightly decided, but that's happened in the 80s. And so what about space in schools, overcrowding? What about all these things? What about our criminal justice system for folks that do get in trouble with the law? That adds cost. So this is reimbursable by the feds. We obviously, submit that and get reimbursed. But what we've done to fight illegal immigration, some of the things that we've done over the years and continue to do, to me, that's a good use of funds, because what people will say is, oh, well, just let the feds do everything. And the reality is, under Biden, the feds weren't doing anything. So I had to step up to do that. Now, under the Trump administration, they are doing all that they can, but they don't have enough resources right now to fully effectuate the president's policy. So we're stepping up to do that and to be a force multiplier. But I can tell you, we will save money in the state of Florida if you have no illegal immigration. I mean, that is just 100% true. It does impose costs on our communities. So I'm glad that DHS has signed off on this particular endeavor. I think it's important. Our legislature did provide a few $100 million at the beginning of the current calendar year for our sheriffs and some of the others to deal with it. And I think the one thing is just having a space to process, detain people so that you can stage them to be able to send them back. That's really kind of the main currency that people are looking for now.